Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Hello everyone and welcome to Dharma Bum Basics. My name is Travis, I facilitate this group. So in tonight's class, we'll be doing, I haven't thought too much about a topic, but I did mention on Saturday that I'd be doing a gratitude meditation or a mudita, appreciative joy meditation. So we'll be doing that. If you have any ideas or suggestions for a topic to talk about afterwards, I'm all ears. You can just leave them in the chat box. So if you have any questions or suggestions. So with this gratitude practice or this mudita is empathetic joy, basically empathetic joy is used as an antidote to greed and envy. And it's a way of learning to focus the mind and direct the mind in such a way that it doesn't feel envious over other people's success. And we can actually, or their perceived, our perception that they're successful rather than some standard of successfulness, but our perception of someone being more successful or having their life had worked out better than ours has so far, or whatever it may be. They got that promotion when you should have got that promotion, or any other such thing. So it's a way of working with the mind to see other people's successes as our own successes, to appreciate them as if they were ours. And if you can have gratitude and appreciation for the good fortunes of other beings, you're never at a shortage of gratitude and appreciation. So that's kind of what we'll be working with tonight. For those of you who have done metta or loving kindness, goodwill meditation, it's similar. We'll go through certain people in stages, but instead of generally wishing well, we'll actually be focusing predominantly on people who we know currently have good fortune, whose life currently already is going well. And so we'll play around a bit with that. And this is any of these heart practice meditations are a great way to getting familiar with where the mind's at right now. A lot of us will have the perception that, well, I'm just not an angry person. There's no one that I have ill will for. But then when you start doing like a loving kindness meditation, you start to notice, oh, that's really subtle, but that is ill will right there. Or, oh, that's really subtle, that is envy or jealousy. So we have the way in which we perceive ourselves, and then we have the actual layers of the mind. And what we're typically perceiving ourselves as is only the surface layer of the mind. There's many facets, many layers to the mind. If there was only one surface layer to the mind, we'd all be free. But it's a complex, complicated mechanism. So when we do these kinds of heart practices, we're basically challenging assumptions that, if I could call it the subconscious, that the subconscious has about the way we should view things, about the way we should interact with people. And by challenging it, it comes up to the surface to be seen. And when we know that it's there, we know of its existence, we're more easily able to work with it. So in this practice, you may be surprised to have some jealousy or envies come up that you didn't really think were there. And it's not a time to beat yourself up. That is, of course, a success, because that's kind of the point of this meditation, is to bring these things up to the surface so we can work with them as opposed to them growing and puppeteering from the shadows. So that's what we'll be doing. With that, I think we'll get started. And again, if you have any questions or suggestions, questions in general or suggestions for what else I should talk about tonight, because I don't, leave them in the live chat. So with that, we'll get started. Closing the eyes and taking 3 deep breaths. Noticing if this deep breathing feels good. And if it does, you can keep on breathing in this way. If it doesn't, you can switch things up. Maybe even deeper still or more shallow. Heavier or lighter. In long and out short, or in short and out long. Just noticing what feels good, what feels centering for the body in this moment. Or if this experimentation feels too complicated, you can even just pose the question in the mind. What kind of breathing would feel best in this moment? What kind of breathing would be the most calming and centering? And then just watch how the breath responds. Breathing in, softening the forehead and the shoulders. Breathing out, steadying the mind. And allowing awareness to step back from the breath a bit and to reflect on how truly wonderful it is that we have the breath. How fortunate that we have this tool built into our being that we can use to soothe the mind and the body. The very breath that gives us life. How fortunate we are. Just extending this appreciation and this gratitude to the breath itself. Extending this appreciation, this gratitude to whatever amount of food you've had to eat today. Acknowledging how fortunate you truly are to have had food to eat today. That you've had clean water to drink today. Extending this appreciation out to whatever level of health you currently have. Extending this appreciation for your own health. Knowing there are others who are not as fortunate as you. Extending this gratitude and appreciation out to whatever dwelling you have today. That you have a safe place to lay your head at night. Reflect on how truly fortunate that is. Reflecting on how truly fortunate we are to have all of these requisites. Maybe they don't all live up to our expectations, but truly we're fortunate to have them in whatever level we have them. Breathing in, generating gratitude. Breathing out, releasing expectation. You can extend this appreciation beyond the requisites and focus on your own qualities of heart. reflecting on qualities of your own character that you appreciate. Maybe it's your intelligence or your kindness, your determination or your creativity. Whatever it may be, call to mind these good qualities of yours. Thinking, you can let the breath fade into the background. Thinking, I am grateful for my good qualities. May they continue and increase. Maybe allowing a gentle smile to rest on the face as you do so. I am grateful for my good qualities. May they continue and multiply. extending this appreciation out to your ability to make connections with others. Grateful that we have this ability to connect with other beings. And then shifting the meditation slightly to whoever came to mind when you thought of these connections. Picking just one of them, perhaps the first person who popped up. You can hold an image of them in the heart, establish that gentle smile, and send this appreciation to them. Thinking, I am grateful for your friendship. Thinking of the qualities of this person that you admire. I am grateful for your good qualities. May your good fortunes continue and multiply. Noticing how gratitude feels in the heart. I am grateful for your friendship. I appreciate your good qualities. You can even make it more personal, of course. Like, I appreciate your kindness, or I appreciate how you're always there for me. May your good fortunes continue and multiply. and sending this dear friend on their way. And calling to mind someone whom you may be envious of or jealous of. Perhaps there's some story of how their life worked out better than yours, or they have some kind of success that you deserved. And just whoever comes to mind. There's no need to figure out why they came to mind. Someone you may have some jealousy or envy towards. Extend these wishes of good fortune, this gratitude to them, acknowledging that even if you may dislike them, they still have good qualities. I appreciate your good qualities. May your good fortunes continue and multiply. Extending this wish to this person as well. And noticing if it causes any tension in the body. If it does, just relax it. And then return to this appreciation. Just holding this person in mind. Reminding yourself that you gain nothing from them being deprived of anything. And if you can learn to appreciate what they have, it's easier to appreciate what you have. I appreciate your good qualities. May your good fortunes continue and multiply. Relaxing tension in the forehead and the shoulders. Sending this person on their way. Reestablishing a gentle smile. and holding an image of the world in your heart. Focusing on all the good in this world, all the good people in this world, and extending this gratitude, this appreciation to them as well. I am grateful for the goodness of this world. May all beings' good fortunes continue and multiply. May all beings' good qualities continue and multiply. Breathing in, generating gratitude. Breathing out, releasing expectations. Once again, taking 3 deep breaths slowly. And with a heart filled with gratitude, slowly opening the eyes and stretching as necessary. Never in a rush to leave the meditation. So if anyone would like to share how that experience of meditation was for them, please do so. I'd love to hear it. If you'd like to share whatever you're sitting with at this time, or any questions that may have came up for you. Much metta to you as well. Did you find it easy or difficult? Did you notice anything that surprised you? Eric shared that it felt good. He got very relaxed and grateful. I'm glad. It's Maxwell shared, I was genuinely relaxed when I breathed in my appreciation for the moment I was in and exhaled my expectations and preferences. So with appreciation or with gratitude, the pretty much number one thing that gets in the way of experiencing it genuinely is our expectations that everything, even if it's going good, could always be just a little bit better. And it's those very same expectations where we could sometimes think we're holding ourselves to a higher standard, like, oh, this could be even better than it is right now. I don't have to settle for just this, I could have more. But it's that very expectation that prevents what we have from being enough and from actually feeling like so much more than it is. Because we're comparing it with this fantasy that we've created in the mind. So no matter how good things out here are, it's still not a storybook. It's still not perfect with a nice bow on it and all of the magic and everything. So when we have this kind of dissonance, it becomes really uncomfortable. But if we can drop those expectations, drop those preferences, and just realize how truly fortunate we are for every little thing that we have in this life, things can get a little bit easier. And we can have a heartfelt appreciation for everything that we're fortunate enough to have. Every person that we were fortunate enough to have met. Even if those acquaintances or those relationships didn't last forever, we're still better off for having had them. They contributed to our growth. So it's appreciating everything that we have and appreciating everything that we've lost. That's an awesome exercise there. He also shared that there was music in the background, and he breathed out the songs that he wished he was hearing, but breathed in the niceness of the current music playing. It's a good exercise. So someone asked, during our personal and collective uncertainty, pain, grief, and anxiety, it can feel tempting to shut down and close off. How do we navigate these feelings? So I can definitely relate to that question there. So while this practice does allow me to not be as heavily weighed down by everything that's happening, it allows me to kind of, as we practice, to breathe out those preferences. And it's really all of the grief and the pain and the anxiety comes from having preferences or having expectations of what things should be like now. Having these expectations of, this is my ideal scenario, my ideal day, my ideal world. And then it's that dissonance between those expectations and the reality. And that's not to say just roll over and let everything happen and don't try to build on anything. But it is saying that don't grip so firmly and put so much faith in our expectations of how things should be, and instead direct our energy towards how things currently are and what can we do day by day to make a positive change within ourselves, within those around us. So it can really help to step back from looking, because this first part, during our personal and collective uncertainty, it's looking at the full scale of the world. And while it's important to see things, see the bigger picture, it can also be very detrimental to our own mental health and well-being. So it's learning to balance when we have to focus on the collective whole, and when to focus on what's going on within our own heart, within our own mind, independent of what's going on outside. And I know that's a lot easier said than done, but making that small shift in perception or perspective can make a huge difference. I know for myself, though, this practice allows me to find that equilibrium, that balance where I'm not so heavily swayed by everything happening outside. This current situation that we're in with the quarantine and all of that, it certainly brings out some of my less skillful qualities of mind. This quarantine and this isolation heavily plays off of my own kind of reclusive nature. And to notice that interplay going on of that I really am closing off, not necessarily because of everything that's happening in the world, but because circumstances are in such a way where I'm not interacting with people on a regular basis. And when that happens, though, in some ways I find that very pleasant, in other ways I don't, it reinforces old habits that I have. And then I get stuck down in those habits. And it's just that constant practice of reminding myself I'm trying to improve upon that. I'm not trying to fall back into old patterns and behaviors. I have a task at hand. I have something that I'm trying to accomplish within my own mind, within my own heart, and to keep that objective in mind, to be able to pull out of that kind of fog that I can get stuck in. Eric shared, I found it easy mostly. When we got to jealousy, I didn't have any animosity towards them. I chose a friend with one aspect I'm envious of, but I can still be happy for him. I may be a mudita master. We'll all get there someday. It is really interesting because oftentimes with one of the feedback I frequently get when I lead this type of meditation is that the very dear friend and then the person that we're envious of, like at least half of the time end up being the same person. And it isn't, and a lot of times for people, it isn't until we switch to, okay, who am I envious of, that we notice that there's any envy towards surrounding this close friend. You know, it makes sense to an extent. We form friendships because we see qualities in other people that we find admirable, that we find beautiful. So we want to associate with them. We want to become closer to them. And sometimes the mind, what we're looking for in friends can often be what we're lacking in ourselves as well. So then some envy or some jealousy will arise because it seems these certain qualities that we admire in them seem so effortless to them, but for us, they may be challenging to develop and to give rise to and to develop and cultivate. So it's really interesting that how close envy and appreciation can be, how they are two sides of the same coin. Because we really appreciate something in someone else, but then we also notice we lack it in ourselves, envy develops out of that appreciation. But if we can cut that constant need to compare and just have that gratitude, that appreciation for their good qualities in and of themselves without relation to us, it can make things a lot easier. And to even that common saying of seeing everyone as your teacher, to acknowledge when a friend has these amazing qualities. See if when you're hanging out with them, you can find out the recipe to these amazing qualities. If you can learn from them. Oftentimes, we can be too bogged down with our own pride or our own inflated sense of self-worth that we're not open to learning from others. I'm not saying that's you, I'm saying in general, I'm saying myself, I have that problem on occasion. Yeah, it's an interesting thing to observe. Maxwell also shared, I'm attempting to ease my expectations for the 4th of July. Love that day to death, but I set my expectations to the highest possible level. It's interesting. I also currently have expectations for the 4th of July, but I'm guessing they're very different from yours. Both of my dogs, it's one of their 2 least favorite days of the year. And so my expectations is that this year, because of lockdown and all of that, there won't be fireworks. Because there won't be large public celebrations, so there may not be fireworks. For all I know, there may very well be fireworks. My dogs live with my parents, which is out in Lakeside. So there's a pretty good chance that there will still be fireworks, if not publicly, coming from people's backyards. but I have this expectation, this desire, hoping that they won't be almost having a seizure all night because they're so scared of the sounds of the fireworks. They literally vibrate. So I have this expectation, and then when 4th of July does come around, and inevitably some people will, maybe not as many fireworks as normal, but some people will set off fireworks, and then I'll have that disappointment that fireworks were set off and that my dogs are panicking. But it's something to work with. It's something I'm very aware of kind of coming into being or forming into being, and something that, though I can't stomp it out, I can watch it. And I can watch those expectations and those things as they develop, as they raise and raise and raise, and as they get crushed. So yeah. So any other questions, comments, anything else? So with that, we will close. I am very grateful to each and every one of you for spending this time with me this past hour. Yeah. So next, let me make sure. Yes, so next Thursday at 7, this class won't be happening because we'll have a special guest on Zoom. We'll have Ajahn Jeff or Thanissaro Bhikkhu, the abbot of Metaphorist Monastery. Highly recommend tuning into that. That will be on Zoom. The information's on the website and on the Facebook. And then also, most likely, if we can get it to work, sometimes it's finicky, we'll stream that Zoom meeting onto YouTube. Yeah. But if you have the chance to tune into that, highly recommend it. He's a very prolific teacher with students all around the world. He travels the world to give talks, and we're fortunate enough to be hosting him. Yeah, I think that's it. So if comfortable, please join palms for a transfer of merit. May all beings in all directions, without limit or end, be healthy, joyful, and at ease. May their good fortunes continue and multiply. May our good fortunes continue and multiply. Metta karuna mudita peka sangha teya cetasa chaturi sambharatva viharati samba buddha rupa vena samba dhamma rupa vena samba sangha rupa vena sote hontu nirantaram.